Simply Financial with Christopher Calandra, Certified Financial Planner, is an innovative, comprehensive, informative, and cutting-edge podcast that discusses financial topics ranging from personal finance, economics, politics, and personal growth. Simply Financial will cover intriguing and thought-provoking questions so that the listener can simply increase their financial IQ.
Welcome to this episode of the Simply Financial podcast. This is episode number 42. We're in season number 3, and I'm your host, Christopher Calandra. On October 4th, we got the latest unemployment data, and there is some great news. I talk a lot about this as I review portfolios with clients and potentially new clients when I give my outlook on the economy and the markets. So a few episodes ago, actually season 3, episode number 35, titled A Decade of Growth, I pointed out that the U.S. is still in the midst of its longest economic expansion ever. We crossed the 10-year mark in June. As of this recording, we're in early to mid-October, and that streak is still intact. And one of the key underpinnings of the economy right now, in my opinion, is this power of a U.S. job market that we have. Very powerful. So the great news. Unemployment rate fell to 3.5%. I realize not everybody that listens to this is as big a geek as I am, but I want to put that 3.5% into perspective. That is the lowest unemployment rate we've had in the United States since 1969. You have to go back 50 years, meaning most Americans were not even alive the last time we had an unemployment rate of 3.5% like we do now. In the last year, the average job growth each month was around 179,000. Very strong. And the thing about this powerful U.S. job market is that we're seeing broad-based improvements. So let's talk a little bit about that. Number one, Hispanic unemployment fell to 3.9% last month. That's a record low. This is something as a country we should be awfully proud of, that Hispanic unemployment has fallen to a record low. Black unemployment, number 2. Black unemployment is at 5.5%, which also is a record low. Never been lower in the history of the United States, or at least since it's been recorded. Number 3, workers who are 25 years or older that do not have a high school degree. So workers that are 25 years or older and they don't have a high school degree have an unemployment rate of 4.8%. That's pretty good. In contrast, this group had an unemployment rate of 15.8% in 2010, just 9 years ago. So that is an incredible accomplishment. Like record low Hispanic unemployment and record low Black unemployment, I think the country should be very proud that that 15.8% unemployment rate, which is a serious blemish, has recovered significantly. It's still not as low as overall unemployment, but come a very long way. And this statistic, by the way, does serious damage, in my opinion, to the argument that automation would mean that folks like this would never be able to find jobs. I think that you can make a very, very compelling case that that thought has been debunked with a 4.8% unemployment rate for workers without a high school degree. I'd also like to point out that when you look at part-time workers versus full-time workers, the numbers are pretty good there as well. So when you look at all of the employed people, about 17.1% of them are part-time workers. This was 20% in 2010, so it's come down. But it's worth noting, again, giving you a historical perspective, is that the average is 16.7% since 1980. So over a very long period of time, it's averaged 16.7. We're only a little bit above that average, so we're right in line with the historic average of part-time workers as a ratio versus full-time workers. And I bring this up in part because recently I had two conversations with terrific clients of mine who I respect a lot, and they each pointed out when I made the case that the economy was in pretty good shape and it was being powered by a very strong U.S. job market, both of them said, yeah, but a lot of these jobs are part-time. And I think that that is something that is talked about in the political realm, but from the data that I see and review and the economists that I follow, I don't believe that that's an accurate depiction of what's happening in the market. The U.S. always has some part-time workers. It's always going to be like that, but the numbers are not alarming. In fact, they're right along the average that we've seen since 1980. So I did want to get that in about part-time workers versus full-time workers. One other thing, and I've mentioned this in past episodes, but wage growth. We are seeing some positive signs of wage growth. So we have seen wages increase 3% over the last year that ended September 30th, 2018. That's pretty good. So we have unemployment at a 50-year low, down to 3.5%. We're creating about 179,000 jobs a month based on the last year. Hispanic unemployment, record low. Black unemployment, a record low. Workers 25 and older who do not have a high school degree, their unemployment rate has gone from 15.8% to 4.8% since 2010. All of these are huge accomplishments, things that as a country we ought to be very proud of, and I think we should do more celebrating of these statistics than we're currently doing as a country. Then we talked about part-time versus full-time. There's fine news on that front, nothing worrisome in my mind. And then over the last year, we've seen wages go up by 3%. When you think about the economy and you think about the markets and you compare that to what we're seeing in the news, which would indicate that things are in complete disarray when you follow the news and you follow the political discourse in this country. But what I would submit to you, and what I've been saying consistently to my clients, is to remember that what is going on in the economy, in the job markets, in the stock and bond markets is not very tied to what we're seeing when we turn on the evening news at night. There's a pretty big disconnect. And what CEOs and small business owners and husband and wives are thinking about when they are considering their finances and their business plans and their goals and objectives, a lot of what is being considered is different than what you see on the news. Not that what you see on the news isn't important, don't misunderstand me, but when we're talking about money and the markets and the economy, there is a pretty big disconnect. And I think this really powerful U.S. job market story has been underreported, and it is important, and it is providing tremendous support for this long-standing economic expansion, and that really should not be overlooked. I wish it was celebrated much more than it is, but the reality is that families and businesses, large and small, have taken note, and it's affected their behavior and outlook, and that's helped this expansion along as well. So thanks for listening to this episode of the Simply Financial Podcast. I'll be back with you on an upcoming episode very soon. In the meantime, please subscribe to the podcast if you haven't already. You could go to iTunes, Stitcher, other podcast platforms. Also visit our website, Elliott Wealth Management Services. Find out information about me and the rest of the team here, how we help our clients win with money. If you're not a client of ours already, we'd love to talk to you. At the website, you could sign up for a complimentary consultation where we could discuss your goals, objectives, the economy, and how we might be able to help you in your quest for financial independence. Thank you so much. I appreciate you listening.
The views expressed are not necessarily the opinion of SagePoint Financial Incorporated and should not be construed directly or indirectly as an offer to buy or sell any securities mentioned herein. Investing is subject to risks, including loss of principal invested. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. No strategy can assure a profit nor protect against loss. Please note that individual situations can vary. Therefore, the information should be relied upon when coordinated with individual professional advice. Please note, the information being provided is strictly as a courtesy. When you link to any of the websites provided here, you are leaving this website. We make no representation as to the completeness or accuracy of the information provided at these websites, nor is the company liable for any direct or indirect technical or system issues or any consequences arising out of your access to your use of third-party technologies, websites, information, and programs made available through this website. When you access one of these websites, you are leaving our website and assume total responsibility and risk for your use of the websites you are linking to. Securities and advisory services are offered through SagePoint Financial Incorporated, member FINRA SIPC. Insurance services offered through Elliott Wealth Management, LLC, not affiliated with SagePoint Financial.
Simply Financial is part of the Exvadio Podcast Network. You can find Exvadio podcasts at exvadio.com/podcast, the Apple Podcasts app, iTunes Store, iHeartRadio app, Spotify, Stitcher, and wherever you find podcasts. So join us and stay informed and entertained.